Hey, welcome. Let me ask you something. Have you ever really stopped to think about what you're passionate about? And I don't mean just a weekend hobby. I'm talking about that deep, burning fire inside, the one that's connected to your real purpose. Well, today, we're going to go on a journey to find it. Let's dive in.
This quote right here, this is pretty much the heart of everything we're going to talk about today. The idea is that passion isn't something you have to invent out of thin air. It's more like a fire that's already inside you, just waiting for you to find it and give it some fuel. It's literally the energy source for a meaningful life.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break this down into 4 parts. First, we'll figure out what true passion actually is. Then, we'll go through 5 questions to help you look inward. After that, we'll talk about how to connect that passion to your purpose. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at some really inspiring examples.
All right, first things first. What do we even mean when we say passion? It's a word we hear all the time, but I think its real meaning goes way deeper than most of us realize.
Okay, let's break this down. On one side, you've got your hobbies, right? The stuff you do for fun when you have some downtime. And then you have a true God-given passion. That's a whole different ballgame. It's this deep, driving force that just makes you want to act. Think of it this way. A hobby might use up your energy, but a passion gives you energy, especially when things get tough. It's what makes you feel 100% alive.
And this quote from Colossians, this is where it all clicks into place. See, when your passion gets connected to a higher purpose, it stops being just about what makes you feel good. It becomes an act of worship. Suddenly, everything you do, fueled by that inner fire, is done with your whole heart, like you're working directly for the Lord.
Okay, that sounds great, right? But how do we actually find that spark? Well, this next part is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to walk through 5 questions, and I really encourage you to take a moment with each one. Maybe even pause and jot down some thoughts. This is all about you.
Question number 1, I want you to think back. When have you felt the most alive? Like truly joyful and fulfilled? What was going on in that moment? What were you doing? Those moments, they're not random. They're like little breadcrumbs leading you straight to your passion.
All right, question 2. What's that thing you do where time just disappears? You know what I'm talking about. You get so lost in it that you look up and, whoa, hours have gone by. That feeling, that flow state, is a huge signpost. What is that activity for you?
Now this next one is interesting because it flips the script a little bit. Passion isn't always about what makes you happy. Sometimes it's about what breaks your heart. What injustices or problems in the world just really get under your skin and make you feel like you have to do something. That heavy feeling, that burden, that could very well be your calling.
Okay, number 4. What are you just naturally good at? Those gifts and talents that you didn't really have to work for, they just seem to be part of who you are? Well, those gifts are no accident. They almost always line up perfectly with what you're passionate about. So where's the overlap for you?
And for our last question, number 5, what do other people see in you? This is a big one, because honestly, sometimes the people who know us best can see our passions even when we can't. What if your friends or family consistently said you're great at, or what do they see you get really excited about? Don't ignore that feedback.
So, let's say you've gone through those questions and you've got some ideas, some clues. That's awesome. But now comes the really important part, aligning them. Because a fire that isn't contained or directed can just cause chaos, right? So how do we aim all that amazing energy toward a real purpose?
The world will tell you, just follow your heart. But the Bible actually warns us that our hearts can be pretty misleading sometimes. So the real key here isn't just following every little whim, it's about taking those passions and intentionally handing them over for guidance, asking for them to be shaped and refined.
So how do we do that? Well, it boils down to these 4 practical steps. Number 1, pray. Ask for wisdom and a clear vision for how to use what you're passionate about. 2, surrender them. Hand them over and trust that there's a bigger plan. 3, serve others with them. This is huge. Passion finds its deepest meaning when it's used for someone else. And finally, number 4, be willing to grow. Stay flexible and open to change.
Okay, so what does this actually look like when someone lives it out? Let's check out a couple of incredible stories from Scripture that show exactly what happens when passion and purpose click together perfectly.
First up, let's talk about Nehemiah. His story is a perfect example of how passion can come directly from a deep burden for other people. He was just wrecked by the news that the walls of Jerusalem were in ruins, and that burden sparked a passion to rebuild.
And this wasn't just him feeling sad for a day. It was this deep, profound ache that became the engine for everything he did next. He took that passion, he prayed about it, he aligned it with God's plan, and then he took massive action. He didn't just rebuild walls, he helped restore the heart of his entire community.
And then there's Esther. Wow, talk about courage. Her passion for her people pushed her to take a risk that could have literally cost her her life. I mean, she was the queen. She could have just stayed quiet and safe, but that passion for justice, it wouldn't let her rest.
And this famous line from her story, it just hits home, doesn't it? It's this powerful reminder that maybe, just maybe, your passion is calling you to be courageous right where you are, in your specific situation. That you've been placed where you are for such a time as this.
So as we start to land the plane here, I want you to hold on to this one big idea. Your passions are not random. The things that light you up, the things that break your heart, they are not accidents. They are clues. They're signposts pointing you toward the unique purpose God has for your life.
I love this analogy. If your purpose is your North Star, that guiding light on the horizon, then your passion is the rocket fuel. It's the energy that's going to get you there. So please don't ignore it, embrace it, let it be refined, and then use that incredible energy for God's glory.
And so that brings us all the way back to you. After everything we've talked about, I've got one last question. What are you passionate about? And maybe more importantly, what's one small step you can take, maybe even today, to start exploring that fire inside?